Yeah, that didn't take long, did it? Before I get into a rant, and it pretty much is going to be a rant because I actually predicted that this was going to happen. But I'm well aware of what happened to Seth Rollins overseas, and it's interesting how they didn't bring up Kane in the beginning because they had Kane put out when the Wyatt family attacked him. So it didn't make any sense to actually add him into that. So they just said that Seth Rollins was injured, and I was fine with that. The opener was great. You know, Triple H definitely did have a few good points that I actually do, agree with. Everyone always says that you're selling out when you make the decision to become successful. Even if it's a route that they believe you shouldn't have chose, they're going to say you sold out. He has a point when it comes to that. They're going to instantly say you sold out when you become successful. When you do something outside the box. They do that in the music industry all the time. So the fact that he actually said that, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I agree. And it would have been nice. Well, I mean, I know that Roman Reigns wouldn't do it, and I guess it would make sense that he wouldn't because he really didn't have uh, any reason to do it. Like he didn't have that pinnacle moment that caused him to turn heel. Like there wasn't any catalyst for him to turn heel. So I guess I can kind of understand why he didn't instantly turn heel, but they are setting up a heel turn, and I appreciate that. I really do. I think that's great. It's good to have it set up instead of an instant change. So I'm cool with that. I really am. And Triple H really did dominate that opener, and I enjoyed it. I really did. But Triple H is a master on the mic. He's really good at what he does, and you can tell why they call him the cerebral assassin. And they still do, even though he's the COO. He did a great job with that opener, and I loved it. And it also set up the tournament, the big tournament for the championship, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Something that we kind of knew ahead of time. A lot of people pretty much found out what was going to happen. They already put it up on Twitter as well as on Facebook, so we already knew this. Now, we saw 4 tournament matches tonight, and then the other 4, for some strange reason, is going to be on SmackDown, probably to get you to watch the show. As much as I think it's stupid, I understand the tactic behind it. You want to have your viewers to watch the other show, so you put the other 4 on the other show. You put the other 4 on SmackDown. I guess I can understand that, especially if the ratings are low. You're trying to encourage more people to watch that show, so I can let that slide. But I will say this, when it comes to this tournament was way too predictable. You already knew who was going to win as soon as you saw who the opponents were. I mean, as soon as you saw who the challengers and the opponents were, you kind of knew who was going to win. You already predicted it, like, right then and there. And it was interesting that I didn't see the Wyatts there, but then we saw them at the very end of the show. They actually was the closer of the show. But honestly, guys, the tag team tournament was okay. I mean, it was great wrestling. I'm not going to deny that. Great wrestling, but it was just way too predictable. I really couldn't get into it at all. I actually started getting tired. But despite all that, we saw a few Divas matches, and I will say that they were actually pretty interesting. But it's a shame that Naomi is not getting the push that she really needs. And just when she became heel, she started getting this excellent push, being on pay-per-view matches, had to change her entire attire, and it's great. But she's not getting the credit that she's due. And it's just like she's really getting overlooked by Paige. And I love Paige. I love Paige. No denying that. But Paige, she either goes face or heel, face or heel, face or heel. I miss her anti-diva gimmick. I really do. Her anti-diva gimmick made her different than all the other divas out there. Because you never seen an anti-hero diva, ever. And it would have been nice. And I guess people probably say, oh, what about China? What about Beth Phoenix? China was a heel. And then became a face. Beth Phoenix was a heel. And I think she stayed a heel. But either or, you really haven't seen an anti-diva. That's the one that has that gray area. You haven't seen that. And I loved her character when she was on FCW. I loved it. FCW / NXT, whatever. I loved her gimmick then. I hate her as a heel. She's like a whiny little brat. It's like something that's just not her. And I'm just not enjoying it. And I really do miss the anti-diva gimmick. But hey, if she's comfortable with it, if she likes being bad, great. But I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of it. But honestly, I just missed that hardcore edge she used to have. And now she just sounds like a spoiled brat. She just does. But anyway, I'm gonna move on from there. We end up having Team Bad come out. Why? Because Tamina is being completely ignored. Naomi is being ignored. And everybody wants Sasha. So why have these chicks as teams? Why? Why bother having them as teams if they're going to consistently be ignored every single night? Tamina's just there. She barely wrestles. Naomi has been trying to get attention since she made her debut in her separation from the Funkadactyls. And she actually did have some attention moving on down the line, but for some reason it got cut and got cut quick. And no offense to Sasha Banks, I love me some Sasha, but for crying out loud, if you really do want Naomi to succeed, you can't have her out there with Sasha Banks. But even if you don't, people gonna be chanting her name. So it's kind of messed up. She has to do something completely out the box, or at least start feuding with Sasha to get noticed. And that's what they should have done. They should have broke up these freaking teams like they did with PCB. And then Team Bella was nowhere to be found. I really don't know what happened. I don't know what was going on with Nikki. Well, Nikki's probably taking a break. Bree's probably taking a break. I don't know what happened to Alicia Fox. She just ain't there. And I mean, all of Team Bella was gone. They didn't even show up tonight. And then we got Team PCB, which is no longer a team. You got them feuding against one another. Why don't you have Team Bad feuding against one another? It's a given. It's some bad blood between Sasha Banks and Naomi and Tamina. They're tired of being ignored. I don't blame them for turning against her or turning against each other. Why didn't they do that? But they still together. I don't get it. But anyway, too much ranting about that. Too much talking about that. But like I said, the tournament matches was pretty much the main set point for tonight. Pretty much setting up, the final match, I think the finals definitely is going to be at Survivor Series. But I think the quarterfinals is going to probably be at Survivor Series too. But honestly, yeah, the quarterfinals and the finals are going to probably be on Survivor Series. And then you also have the 4 matches that's going to lead up to the quarterfinals and the finals being on SmackDown. So it'll be 4 matches on SmackDown, 4 matches on Raw, quarterfinals and semifinals. Quarterfinals and finals is going to be on Survivor Series. I guess it's an interesting way to set it up, but honestly, we know who's going to win most of these matches. We do. We know who's going to win the semifinals. You can just look at it and predict. But for Raw. But as for SmackDown, you might have a few wild cards up in there. You might. And honestly, I thought that Tyler Breeze was going to be the dude that's going to take out Ambrose. I love Ambrose, but Ambrose ended up winning because Ambrose is more popular. But anyway, guys, besides the tournament that's been going on and a New Day random match, I don't know why they decided to have a 6-man tag tonight. It really made no sense. It made sense to get rid of all the semifinal matches tonight and then have the quarterfinal matches on SmackDown. That just made sense to me. Because if you want people to watch the show, you want them to watch the final outcome, close to the semi-final outcome on the other show. Because you have the quarterfinals, that you have the semi-finals could be completely all wrapped up on Raw, which would have made sense to me for all that 3 hours was just to use that as for the semi-final round. Have the quarterfinal round on SmackDown. And then have the final round on Survivor Series. It made sense to me, but I don't know. That's been done, and I'm gonna move on from there. But anyway, guys, let's talk about the closer of the night. I'm not even gonna say it's the main event. They could not wait a month. They couldn't wait 3 months. They couldn't even wait till WrestleMania. It hasn't been that long, guys. It's been like 3 weeks. And you're going to bring out the Brothers of Destruction just as when whoever wrote that ridiculous piece of trash they call a storyline for Bray Wyatt saying that he absorbed their souls. He took the souls, the very essence, the power of the Undertaker and Kane, and I became powerful. So what was that? Parlor tricks? Now you got them in physical form. They dominate you in the ring and leave. Really? You couldn't wait like 6 months? You couldn't wait 4 months? Well, more than likely you couldn't wait till WrestleMania, which is probably about, give or take, maybe 3 or 4 months away. You couldn't wait that long. You couldn't even see. You wouldn't even allow them to. I would have been fine. When they said souls, I would have been fine if they haunted him. I would have been fine if they messed with his brain a bit. I would have been fine if they did that. If they played some head games with Bray. If you mention souls, you gotta be a little realistic with it. If you want to make them specters, why don't you just have their spirits or have their souls haunt Bray to mess with his head up until WrestleMania to where he completely loses it and then you see him in physical form? That would have been great. It would at least made Bray look somewhat decent. It literally made the last few Raws as nothing but parlor tricks. That's all it made Bray look. And people are like, okay, it doesn't matter. Bray can lose multiple times and his character, it doesn't matter with his character, he'll still be dominant. No, honey. That stuff takes its course. You start the people, the WWE Universe or whoever else is watching, you start losing respect for that character if they consistently lose. The Wyatt family hasn't been dominant since FCW. And now that they're on the main roster, they still haven't been dominant. They were dominant then. They had all the belts then before they made their way to the main roster. And even at the main roster, they haven't been taken seriously. They were taken seriously at their debut, but they were not taken seriously since then. They have been nothing but jokes for the last few years. That's pathetic. You have them pretty much at WrestleMania lose to John Cena, which pretty much caused his entire. And I'm sorry, the call they had to bring Wyatt down to WrestleMania 30 was the worst call they could ever make, and ever since then he has not been able to reach that peak. He's had that pinnacle a few times. I mean, he's reached that the close to the apex of his career. At certain points, at certain feuds at a time. When he was Roman Reigns, got really creepy, got really close to being dominant, slammed by Roman Reigns. He was way over at WrestleMania 30, slammed and taken down by John Cena by being literally buried. They literally buried him in a WrestleMania match. And now that you got Braun Strowman and you also got Eric Rowan back, a dominant family, you don't use them at all. You make them look like jokes night after freaking night. I knew they would not be able to hold out for long. I knew that they were going to blow this. Like a child at Christmas who can't wait to open their Christmas gifts. And they just or in other words, they pretty much like go. I'm not going to really go that far into it, but I'm just going to say that things were spoiled for them very easily when they already knew what they were going to get. And I kind of knew that they were going to ruin this for Bray Wyatt because they always do. There's no way, and I'm sorry, there is no way that you can take this character seriously anymore after this buffoonery of literally blowing his one chance to be extremely dominant before WrestleMania. They could have made them step back. They could have been like, look, we got to step back. We got to let this kid look good. Let him have the power for a while. We'll just haunt his mind. And then just make him slowly unravel as time goes on. Make Bray break. That was the one thing. No character. Like, the one thing I can say about Bray Wyatt is Bray Wyatt, his ultimate goal is to break you. That was his ultimate goal as his character, as a being a psychotic heel. His job was to break you, mind, body, and whatever else. His job was to break you, mind and body. That was his job. That is what he strove for. That is what he wanted to do, was to see you destroyed mentally. Imagine seeing Bray Wyatt break down by somewhat absorbing the souls of Undertaker and Kane. Imagine seeing the mental breakdown that doing that would do to you. I would be fine with that. I would be fine with the breakdown of Bray, because it would make sense. Good grief, you took the abilities, you took the powers of Kane and Taker. You want to see this guy break down, and then break down finally at WrestleMania. And try to fight to get control, but then he just breaks. And then, yeah, you get beaten up then. Fine. Or at least have somewhat of a fight. A decent fight to where he looks good and looks decent and tries to use his powers against Taker, and then Taker tries to slowly starts taking his powers back until the very end when he loses everything, and then Taker takes him down. Why don't you do it that way? Why don't you be creative with it? But now that's over. They flushed that down the toilet. They pretty much ruined everything for Bray, and I'm sorry. There's no way he can come back from this. And if he tries, it's going to be a lot harder than it has been. They pretty much ruined this kid's push. They really have. They ruined any ounce of dominance the Wyatt family could have had. And that's the one thing that pissed me off. All because of Taker. And don't get me wrong, Taker has a huge legendary status behind him, as well as Kane. But this was a chance for them to step back and allow Bray Wyatt not to look like a fool yet again. And now he looks like a complete fool. Him and the entire Wyatt family. Where they're going to go from here, I don't know. But guys, I want to hear your thoughts about this show. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Because honestly, any ounce of push that Bray Wyatt had, it's going to be a lot longer for him to get back to where he was.